Ba 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 ba. Hi, how's it going, friends? Whoa, what are you doing? How is everybody? How are we going here? What are you after? Are you gonna try and land on the microphone? Sneaky. Look, they're on my shirt too. It's bird time. You're good? Hello, Anonymous. Are you still there? Okay. Hello, AZ. Hello, Trademark. Doing good, trying to figure out a website shenanigans, which is hard. Whoa! Yeah, the microphone is not a perch. It's not gonna work out. It's slippy. She's standing on the monitor. That's what that word is. The dogs are on vacation right now, so the bird has the house. I mean, the cats are upstairs. We need to do the dishes. We have, like, so many fruit flies. Oh, she's being coaxed away with millet. Gonna eat the light on the printer? Delicious. What's Bird's name? That's Nadra. She's named after the dragon in Breath of the Wild. Ursula stole her. I think the milk I'm drinking is bad. Well, put it in timeout. Okay, so I read AZ's work and I read Nat's work, and then I get to fly away with my bird. So I guess I start with AZ and then go to Nat. Like, that's the only possible trajectory here, because then we move into Ursula Town. Ursula Town. Y'all ready for this? This is the critique stream, by the way. I think we all should know that by now. I guess new people sometimes show up. Whoa. What? Oh. They've already seen their friend. Whoa. Okay, now I have a friend. Birdie. Bird. Ready, set. Also, hi. We ready? Oh, sorry, I misread that. I have arrived. Made it, boys. Oh, hi, Pigment. Yeah, I was sick on Thursday. I woke up and I was not feeling great. So, we're doing it today instead. Burb. I love how they hop. Okay, so I will start with AZ's thing. No more. You can't eat my headphones, okay? I mean, you can, but you shouldn't. It's not a good. No, don't. Ursula. All right. So I read your thing and it was good and I liked it. Right, so this time, oh my god, I did the thing where I didn't open anything. Classic read. Oh, is there stuff? No, there wasn't. Okay. Classic. I gotta move this because I can see you guys. Right. I just read it. Yeah, it's kind of like what I've been saying for the last little while, where like I've been enjoying the plotting and plotting forward and being all plot and stuff. I liked the emotions, I guess. It was there was good tone and emotions to what was going on. Yeah, and it's like a very sensical, like conflict that's happening. Like, it makes sense. It follows in line with all of the build up. Like, it's not out of nowhere. It's all good. Yeah. Is that your bird in the background? Yes. It's our bird. Oh, foreground. They're going for the... They're about it. You need to find something new and novel that's just as fun as this new toy. They should have toys above the cage that they haven't seen before. And take them out and just don't let them have it. Wow. Chaos. Birds are such chaos. They just zoom in. Oh. I'm sorry, Izzy. I hope this isn't terrible for you. Right. So I liked all of the plot. It is very in line with like what has been built up to. Bird wants to help. Yes, Bird is trying to help. No, we just have the one bird. Birds are chaotic, scary, and adorable. It's true. Cat is meowing at my door. Oh no. I'm so distracted. Sorry. So, yeah, and I like the relationship stuff that's getting built up. And like I feel things moving towards like some sort of crescendo, which is cool. I guess the main thing that was on my mind while reading this one, I've been wondering if the stakes have been amped up enough yet as I approach the midpoint. Yeah, it feels, I was gonna say, it feels like a midpoint. It feels like moving towards a midpoint, which is good. It doesn't feel like an end point is coming. Yeah, no, I think you're ramping up stakes good. I think it's moving forward at a good pace. I think the one thing that I was thinking about while reading, especially like the Des scene, like I don't think this has been the case. actually, I don't know. I'd have to reread things. Um, but um, I guess I was mostly just thinking about like the medium that is being used, like that you plan to make this a comic, um, where like I just was really thinking about it because like I'm not like sorry, I gotta formulate my thoughts here. Um, because obviously like you could do this like when you go through like your thumbnailing stuff and whatever and make it really cool, and I bet you could. It's just like um I think it was because the scene was probably so heady, like so much like thinking and stuff, where I just was like it just like had me questioning whether or not like this is a comic. I've had that thought too, actually, where I've been wondering how to convey some of the stuff in visual medium. Yeah, because I was reading it and like I guess I was just thinking like, yeah, like I'm not sure, like I think you could figure it out visually. I just was wondering like if the story like justifies the amount of like physical manual labor that like a comic is going to be. And if you want to make a comic, like go for it, whatever. It just had me wondering that a lot because I think there are ways that you could very effectively get a lot of what you have across in different mediums. I've been toying with the idea of actually writing this as a proper novel, and that may be translating into the way I've been writing. Yeah, I could see that because yeah, like I think like it very much could work. Like well, right now like it's very like outliney, regardless of what you decide to do with it, and as long as you're figuring out the plot and whatever, like it's just something to have on your mind. Um yeah, like I think yeah, it was definitely something like to think about, but I was also thinking of ways to convey it visually. Gonna consult others friends for some ideas as well. Yeah, I think another part of it is because I listen to it instead of read it. Well, actually, I do both. I usually am reading it while like my audio thing is going, and I was just thinking, like, you have such great dialogue that it would just make a really cool audiobook stuff. It's not. Yeah. Yeah, it's still in progress. Yeah. I think it'll be cool like regardless of the medium. I just think yeah, I think writing towards one of them would help a bit. Though it's like regardless, like it's something like you can change and adapt later on. I think that was just like the main thing that was on my mind while watching it. I see it clearly in my head. It's just myself that I'm able to convey it. Yeah, no, I trust that you're able to convey it too. Like I think you're capable of putting it into any form. Um, I think it just needs a little more like writing towards whichever one you want. Because this one was very heady, and like I think it was just because there was so much like good thinking stuff. Like the Des scene especially was very heady, which tends towards novels a lot more than like comics. Because like you can do thought bubbles and stuff, so it's fine. It still works. It's just yeah, it's just harder to convey, and it's something like you kind of need to think about in the script of like how it looks visually. But yeah, that's mostly what I was thinking. Because otherwise, like, all of it seems like very much a natural progression. Do you have any questions? Because that was like the main meat of what was on my mind. There's bird chaos. Chaotic bird. I'll do shoot you, Jim. Okay. I will move on to Nat. Right. So with Nat, we saw like the continuation of the competition. And I don't have a lot of complaints. Like, I think it was very, like, I think it was very strong. And I liked the arc of the scene, and I like the tension, and also like the comparison, or the contrast. That would be the contrast between the is it Orla? I always forget everyone's names. I like the contrast between pointy hair and pointy nose. Is that Orla and Ayla? Oh my god, why am I so bad at names? They go through my mind like soup. Anyways, yeah, I like the contrast between like the panic versus like the boredom. Like, I think that just worked very well for structuring the scene. Just bird flying around. And I liked how you interweaved like kind of the two plots, and then had them kind of intersect at the end and cross over in like a very like strong way. She's fine right now. Oh no. Oh no. Chew the paintings. Do it. Destroy art. We don't need fine art. Get rid of it. Sorry. The birds above me attacking a painting. Oh, Ursula. Can we get off of my head, please? Can we... Thank you. Hi. Yes. I liked all of that contrast. And then how it all came together. Art versus bird, yeah. I'm trying to think of my complaints. Not my complaint, my criticisms, that's the word. Okay, you're gonna get crushed if you sit like that. Just, what are you doing? She's between me and the chair, like, wedged herself. Chaos. Okay, after the headphones again. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Nat. And I like that we're moving into like the plot with the bird and like developing that arc more. Headphones are too good, right? It's irresistible. She's after them. She's going for it. Sneaky. 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 I'm sneaky. Oh, it's birds. It's a bird. I'm talking about birds while being harassed by a bird. It's very makes sense for the comic I'm reviewing. No, I just think it's strong. I'm not sure like what I can add. I'm sorry I got sick, because otherwise I could ask you like what you want to know. Maybe there was some stuff written and I skipped over it. Story feedback from Bones. And it's a bit cliffhangery. I don't think it's too cliffhangery. I think it was very I think there was like a little bit of a cliffhanger with the echo bird, but like I don't think it was like I think you naturally built up to that point very well, and like it's an understandable ending. It's an open-ended ending, less than like a cliffhanger. Like it was a satisfying ending. It just opens up the question for the next moving forward bit. Wait a minute. Wait. I think I missed some of this somehow. But it's still good. I'm excited to move forward with this Echo Bird stuff. I don't know. Gary, you take it from here.
All right. Hello. All right. Hello, friends. It is I, Gary. How we all doing? Oh, happy birthday, Loudmouth Comics. I hope you have a good birthday today. All right. Hi, Kuro. Hi, Doku. Okay. So we were going over Nat's stuff. Okay. Here we go. All right. So Nat, going over the artwork. As usual, your art is very lovely. And there were very few spots where I had any nitpicks with like your layouts or composition or any of the artwork. Like it's all very good quality. Yeah, there were some really great scenes or pages, I guess. Like I really, really love the build-up of this one where Orla asks about the bird for the first time. Hi, ma'am. Can you get off my head? Okay. This is my echo bird. Anyways, so yeah, I love the buildup of Orla asking about the bird and her reaction. I thought that was just really well paced. Lots of good buildup throughout. Yeah, and some really interesting paneling following with her reaction. Oh dear. But yeah, awesome stuff. Really great paneling there. Very strong. I think you do a very good job of showing the emotion going on. And I think you've done that throughout the comic already anyways. So, great work as usual. I found the action was pretty clear. You know, even at the sketching stage, I can still kind of tell when the pods are dropping, and the magic and stuff that's going on. I think that's all well presented and paced. There was one part that I wasn't sure about. So first off, I really like this page here where Alia's like running away and trying to just avoid the situation. I think this is really effective. I really like the angles used. It's got very good flow kind of following Alia. I do find the flow gets a bit broken by this panel on the next page where Orla's saying sorry. It just feels so off to the side. It doesn't... Yeah, and I'm not sure about the placement of the bird here in the background. It just feels a bit disconnected. Like I feel like like what you're trying to do, and correct me if I'm wrong when you watch this later, I guess. You're trying to go from Orla here to bring you down to the next panel using the bird, but I find it's just so like tucked off at the top of this panel that it like the flow isn't happening. I think you might want to rework this top panel. I understand like you're trying to make Orla feel small while she like stutters to apologize, and then Alia is like very like tall and overpowering on the rest of the page. And I think you convey that really well. I think honestly, a way you could make this panel work better is possibly using like the silhouette of Alia here. Like just having like a big silhouette piece here. Sorry, I don't think you can see my cursor. Here on the left side. Or you can always flip it to keep like continuity, like have Alia's silhouette here on the right side and then Orla over here. And I think you could use kind of like the negative space, like the shadow, to kind of lead you down instead of using the bird. Yeah, I think you could use that to really reinforce this feeling of like Orla feeling small while she's apologizing. So that was one little nitpick. I'm also not sure about this deep breath sound effect here going on at the top. I think it could work. It just feels a little tacked on here. Maybe that's just because it's the sketching stage, but I'd be curious to see it maybe like woven into the composition a little bit more, like following some of the curves that are happening between like the bird and Alia and the dialogue and stuff. Yeah, because right now it just feels, especially with the asterisks on it, it feels a little out of place. And I like to see it kind of meshed in a little bit more. I think it's up to you how you want to do that. Oh, ma'am, no. Ma'am, please. Ma'am, this is a Wendy's. Thank you. And then, yeah, and then I love the ending bit. I think you did a really good job with like the flow, and the blocking and stuff. Honestly, through like this whole thing, I think you've done a really good job with the blocking, like showing where characters are and showing the scene. Yeah, I really love this panel with the bird up in the chandelier. Yeah, and really great. Like, I love the kind of sting of the end, the last page. I think that's really well done. Yeah, so I think that's all my feedback for that, Nat. I know you're not here, so when you do watch this back, feel free to drop any questions in the Discord or DM me or anything, and I'm happy to answer anything. But yeah, awesome work, as usual. Hello, TCX. Welcome to your first stream here with us. Thank you for joining. Hello, Grace. Hello. Hello, everybody. All right, so that is Nat's work. Who would like to go next? We have Kuro, we have Mouth, we have Kairos, Clad, Pigment, and Alice. I know Pigment is here. I don't know if you want to go now, because you said you might like be on break or something, so I don't know if you have time. Okay, we'll do Pigment. All right, so my friend, let me just make sure. Oh, congrats on hitting 100 pencils. That's really awesome. Okay, and you're looking for general critique. Awesome. How do you get a reaction to a comic? Yes, it is through Patreon. So if you, there should be a link down below. You can sign up. You won't be able to get into this month's critique because we have deadlines kind of before, just to give us time to like collect our thoughts on everything. But you will be able to sign up for the critique next month. Yeah. Just check that out if you're interested. Okay, so yeah, so I think generally you've got some very strong composition. I really liked the scene where Nyx is talking to Aurora. I thought you did a lot of really fun stuff showing like the scale between the two of them. And I just really liked the set piece that they're in. I think it's really fun. And yeah, really cool. I love the mixing of like Aurora's hair with the clouds, and it's all just really cool. So kudos on that. Yeah, overall, flow and composition is doing really well. It was very easy to follow. It is a little bit like Talking Heads-y, if you know what I mean by that, where it's very much just characters going back and forth. You have some panels where you'll pull out I'm obsessed with how small Nyx is compared to her. Me too. But you have some really nice panels where you do pull out and show, like, I think that's a standout for me in this scene, is like showing the scale between Nyx and Aurora. And obviously you have like some really good body language with the characters, showing like like the reactions to like yeah, I think there's just good like character acting and like subtext throughout it, which is nice. But the problem with it being Talking Heads is I think you have some opportunities to show some more there's bird chaos in the background, I'm sorry. I think you have the opportunity to show some kind of like abstract-y things because it is like a visual medium with a comic. So like when you mention like the goddess of war is getting ma'am? Speaking of war, are you attacking me? That's rude. That's rude. Okay. But you could show even just a panel showing kind of like the vibe of that, or like showing, I don't know, examples of the variants and stuff, even if it's like a flashback to a previous panel, or even just something kind of atmospheric and vibesy, I think might help with some of the just back and forth between the characters and breaking it up visually. But obviously, like, you don't want to go too heavy on that because it could be distracting. But anyways, just something to throw in there if you're interested in it. And I had one little nitpick about the ending of the scene, because I feel like the ending of the scene, like, dialogue wise, is really strong. Right before Nyx leaves the conversation with Aurora, because I love that line where I know it's a heavy burden, don't carry it alone, where I think it needs to feel like a bit more, it needs like a bit more visual weight than it has. Because I really love this top panel where you see Aurora, like, leaning against the cloud. I think that feels very, like, I don't know, just the body language is very, like, motherly and caring and stuff, and it's just got, like, good vibes to it. But this, like, last scene where it's like you're really stating, it feels like a theme for the story, or like, obviously Nyx's kind of like, need, like, the way they need to grow in the story. So it feels like it needs a bit of, like, room to it. So I don't know if you need to, like, yeah, I'm not sure what you could do. You could do a close-up of Aurora. You could do a close-up of, like, Nyx reacting. You could pull out more and show kind of, like, more far away. I find, like, Aurora's stance in this last panel is a little bit casual. But yeah, but just giving it a bit more weight, I think, would really help kind of make this last line really punch, you know? Yeah, exactly. Show the magic a bit throughout, I think would be, it's a really great opportunity to do it, is here. Yeah. So that was my one nitpick. Yeah, and then yeah, and then I didn't have any issues with the ma'am. You can't go there. Oh no. This bird is trouble. Anyways, yeah, and then the last scene with Lydia and oh my gosh, I can't remember, Jasper. Yeah, I think it was very solid. It works very well. Oh, there was one other little nitpick that I think is easy to fix and just something to keep in mind. I think I've mentioned it previously. But there's some points where I think you can combine panels. The one I was thinking of in particular is this one here. Between these two, where you have them hugging, and oh my gosh, what is the name? Xantara, sorry. So Xantara and Nyx are hugging, and Nyx says, like, oh, you have plenty of time to learn all the hobbies you want. And then they pull away, and Xantara says, like, true. I think you could combine these two panels. I don't think they need to be separate to show, like, the hug and then the pull away. I think you could just skip to Xantara, like, making a face and her and Nyx talking, I think. Yeah, so you don't have to take it away from this panel, but I think that's just something to keep in mind. There's certain things you don't need to draw multiple panels for. You can combine a lot. It saves you time when drawing, and I think it's just helpful to cut things that don't need, like, to be highlighted, kind of. It's similar to, like, in dialogue when you're writing, if you put in every, like, and that happens in, like, natural dialogue, where, like, something visually, things need to be a bit more snappy, and you need to really choose, like, what's the most important thing to show for this panel or scene or piece of dialogue, if that makes sense. Yeah. So again, very minor changes, I think, if any. Compositionally, things are very strong. It's very easy to follow. I think you're doing a really good job with like characterization, with like setting up challenges for the character. Yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued with like what's gonna happen. I think this will be fun. Did you have any questions or anything I didn't cover that you wanted answers for? You need wireless headphones? We really do. Nature is a menace. Oh, I don't think I showed off my shirt. So I've got little Nadras on it. They're in a little like parfait. Oh, hi. Come here, baby. Come on. Can you step on my hands? Oh, that's a good baby. No. Oh, you gonna eat the mic? I don't think you should. I don't think you should. Oh. Pardon? Oh, I see. There. Demon. Got nothing else? Awesome. Well, thanks, Pigman. Thanks for being patient with us. Awesome. Cool. Glad I could make it. Gotta go. Oh, good luck with work. I hope you have a good shift or day. Whichever kind of work you do, I hope it goes well. Okay, close. And close. So, who would like to go next? I know Kuro is here. We also have Mouth, Kairos, Clad, and Alice. So I don't know if Mouth or Kairos or Clad or Alice are here. Let's do Kuro. Kuro, I'm voluntelling you. Bye, Pigment. I am still here. Hell yes. All right. Okay, so you sent in 2 concepts and a finished piece. So you want critique on color values, layout, if it makes sense, and any other critiques. Get critique on the background designs, ignore the close-ups. They're both meant to be abandoned, forgotten landmarks made for forgotten deities. The second one is during night. Okay, and the beast is meant to be like a mountain. And then the final piece of net. Okay. Not our net. Your net. Okay. So I'll start with these 2. So this was the first one, the day scene, and then this is the night scene. Okay, so first off, I really like the texture that you're using for these. It feels very like the texture of the brush. It feels very like it's very watercolor-esque or like ink wash-esque. And I think the way you've like laid down the values, like it feels very, I think it helps kind of like show the form of what you're working on. Like I think you've laid down the values in a way where I can tell when like what's a highlight, where shadows are. Things feel very full, if that makes sense, like full, voluminous. It's a watery India ink brush. Yeah, I like it. It works really well. So first off, this first panel here that you have with showing off this background, really well done. I think you did a very good job of showing the scale compared to the characters. I think you've done a very good job of showing the different like planes, like the different what is it, shapes, materials. And it all is very in perspective and lovely, and I like it a lot. Yeah, I really love the rendering on the stairs where you can see like highlights hitting it, but then you see the shadows hitting the front of the steps. I think that's really nice. I think some of the depth is missing from inside this like tower thing, but obviously like this is a concept, you can fill it out more. But I'd love to see some kind of like outlines of whatever's in there. Yeah. Yeah, love the texture on like the mountains in the background and the rocks and stuff. The only thing that feels a little bit kind of off perspective-wise would be this tower here, because this one, like, you don't see where it rests at the bottom, so it melds in with like the end of these stairs here. But because this is like a little bit farther back, I feel like, I don't know, I think maybe you just need to put some shadows at the base or something, just to kind of make it feel more attached to the ground that it's on. And again, these are concept sketches, but just be careful about using really thick outlines on certain things. Like, you'd want to find... Sorry. So when I'm looking at this, I find my eye goes straight to this tower because it's got like some of the darkest values on it. It's got very like thick line work on it. Where I feel like my attention should go to the characters and maybe this like larger entrance up here because that's where the characters are going. But anyways, so a way to avoid that is to just kind of use like a lighter touch to the line art, maybe use some lighter colors on it to match maybe like this statue here, for example, or the stairs. Because when you have something that's very dark on like a light or neutral background, like your eyes go right to it. So that's just something to watch out for if you do this again or like flesh this out more. Yeah, I find for some reason that was the hardest bit to draw. I'll make sure to fix it. Yeah, like it feels like it just needs some like tweaks done. It feels like it's like almost there. And then with this one, I think generally like I like how it's looking. Like the characters all feel very grounded in the scene. Like they feel like they're a part of it. You can tell that they're like standing on this platform here. I can tell that there's like stairs leading down behind them, and then this like arch is like the entrance to this thing. I really like the textures in the background. I think you did a good job of showing like highlights and stuff on the background. The one thing I would recommend though is adding a bit more darkness to like the entrance that they're going into. And maybe even showing like the other kind of archway entrance thing here at the other corner, just to kind of show, give a better sense of like where they are. Hi baby. Hi. Could we? Yeah. Well, I am a perch. Ma'am, I don't think you should be up there. Come on. Don't bite me. Come out. Hey. There. There. Just hang out with your mama. Don't bite my fingies. That's rude. You wanna go with your dad? Don't bite. Oh my goodness. You're a rude lady. Anyways. What was I saying? Oh, right. But I think you need to add a bit more shadow here just to show a difference between like the outside and then the inside. Like if you're seeing a lot of this bright light behind them, like this foreground stuff would be very shadowed. So like you'd want it to be dark enough that you can really tell the difference between the foreground and the background. But I'd also want to see these like cool little cracks and like marking details on it, because like, yeah, it's just cool. I want to see those details, but you'll have to really work with like your highlights and your shadows to really make it show through. So that you're not only relying on these like thick lines here to show the difference. Yeah, you could really work with your shadows to that effect. Did you have any other questions on this, Carl? The troublemaker has been put in jail. That's great. Awesome. So then for the night scene, so okay. So I think this is a good start for like showing the night lighting. Like I really like how you have like the exterior is very dark and then you have this like light shining out from within this like structure here. I think the background, sorry, so the main structure here, this like temple thing, I think is well rendered. I think there's good form to it. The lighting on it and the shadows really helps kind of like solidify where it is on the ground. I find the surrounding stuff is a bit hard to understand. Like I'm not sure if there's like a hill rising up behind it. These feel like statues like surrounding it, but it's a little hard to tell. But it feels like simultaneously the ground is sloping down towards the camera, but also sorry, how do I describe what I'm feeling here? I think what I'm feeling is it feels like the background, so everything going on like up here and up here feels like it's on a different angle than what's going on in the foreground here with this structure. Where it feels like it needs to be a bit more condensed in the background, if that makes sense, because like our horizon line is right like here-ish. So it feels like the background would be kind of more condensed to down here. You might see the occasional, like if there's like hills behind it, you might see it rise up a little bit above your horizon line. But it feels just too tall, if that makes sense. Like the horizon in the background does not match the horizon line in the foreground. It's meant to be one giant dragon dog curled around the statue. Okay, gotcha. Oh, I see it. I was interpreting it as the background. Gotcha. Okay, I think that'll show more in your details then. Lighting it will help a lot, like showing like more patches of light on it. Okay, that makes a lot more sense now. I was interpreting it as like a distant hill, so my bad. But yeah, very strong lighting here. I would recommend even going in certain parts. I wanted to say points and parts. You could go even lighter. Like, you could use some like gradients or airbrushes to really show the light coming through. I think it gets a little bit muddy in here. And I think you could really go in and show like that kind of radiant glow of like the light, what coming from like the places where the light is coming from, and then where it kind of bounces off like the stone or marble and stuff. Like I think you could really get into it the same way like you have these like nice bright highlights on your characters. I think you could do that in this background to really make things more punchy. Spoilers, it's a giant and his pet turned to stone. Okay, gotcha. 10 out of 10. A good dog. Yeah, and then for the characters, I think the lighting needs to hit the top of them a little bit more, if that makes sense. So I like how you have the light really touching just like the top of their heads. But I think the light would be hitting kind of like the top of the shoulders here and like across the bridge of the nose and then like the very like crown of their head, that kind of thing. Same with this, like you'd see light on the brim of the hat. I think you'd see it on the top of their chest and stuff. And then same with this character, like you'd see like the top of her head, across her nose. The top like of her knuckles here would have some more light on them. Yeah, so I think just going in and doing a bit more rendering, like similar to this character, but more upways, if that makes sense. Because the light is like right above them and maybe a little bit behind, but you'd still have like a lot of light kind of like on the top planes of your characters. The light is an orb in his hand. Oh, from the giant. Okay. Yeah, because you'd have like a radiant glow. So yeah, it would be touching the inside of the pillars. It would be touching the top of him. It would light up the ceiling. Yeah, you'd have this hard shadow beneath him. Yeah, I think there'd just be like a bit more of like a kind of gauzy gradient light coming out of it. And yeah, it would definitely be like above the characters. Like I was saying. I forgot their 3D-ness. Yeah, it needs like a little bit more 3D-ness with the light. I think you'd get some really cool effects with it. But yeah, and using those highlights to really show the contrast, I think will help. It gets a little bit muddy in the second panel. Like it's very, all the tones are very similar except for like the outlines on them. So I think using your highlights more, pardon me, using your highlights more will really help with like that contrast. Yeah, did you have any other questions about it? Anything I didn't cover? Trying to push my highlights because I normally avoid them. No? Okay, awesome. I think you're getting there. You're like so close. You're doing a really good job. Okay. So then, all right, so the finished piece of Nat. Okay, okay, color values, layout. Okay. So okay, first off, composition-wise, it's very, like, it feels cut short, if that makes sense. Like, it's, you've got a square canvas, but the design is very vertical. If, like, her head is being cut off, the Team Japan text is, like, really squished near the top. It's very, the bulk of what you're looking at, like you go to here, this feels like the focal point. You've got like leading lines from these like spotlights coming back down towards like her hips and her legs. You look at like this really bright like block she's sitting on, and you look to the words and stuff here. And like the highest contrast you get is between like the green block she's sitting on and then her like very dark like clothing on her legs and stuff. Where I feel like the focus should be on like her full body and her face, if that makes sense. If you wanted to do a focus on like her lower half, like if say like you wanted to do a composition where like the focus is like the block she's sitting on and then her like lower half, I would honestly have like tilted the camera so that her face is maybe blocked more by her her body, or even cut off like her face in the picture if you wanted to focus more on like the rest of her. But the way it is now, it just feels like it got cropped. It feels like there's supposed to be more, but the image got cropped in export or something like that. Like it just feels too condensed at the top. If I were you, if you wanted to keep the square aspect ratio, I would make this a lot smaller. I'd probably have her head like here where her chest is and move everything else down, make it smaller, that kind of thing. And then have kind of more breathing room way up here. Yeah, I'd move like her face and then the Team Japan text like down, so it's all like here, and everything would kind of be in this like archway kind of thing, and then you'd have like breathing space up top. But yeah, like you're saying, it's very bottom heavy. Everything at the top feels cut off. I really like the cityscape stuff in the background. I'd love to see that brought up more, so it kind of clips here-ish. Just because it's got such cool like detail in it, I think it would bring a lot of like visual interest behind the block. I should stop forcing myself to draw on square layouts for Insta. Well, the thing is, like, you can draw for square layouts, but you have to remember that like your rule of thirds really gets condensed. So like your focal points would be like here and here and here and here. Like this kind of like area here is where your focal stuff is. So like you can do very vertical designs, but they have to be smaller, and you're gonna have a lot more like white space around them. If you wanted to do something very vertical, like you could make her much smaller, so she only takes up like 2/3 of the canvas, and then you have like this big like quarter section where there can be like empty space or little details or whatever. But yeah, I think you can keep using square layouts for Instagram. I think you just need to shift your compositions to match the aspect. I'm sorry about that, studios. I know, it is very hard to find places to build websites if you don't have like a PayPal. A Dutch angle could work. Dutch angles, camera-wise, so like tilting it, you could fit more into a square layout. The thing is, like, a Dutch angle has a very specific use. It's supposed to make things feel kind of like off-kilter. So. Oh, you're right. Wix is free, isn't it? It has like certain features you can't get unless you pay. Anyways. But yeah, okay, so I'll move on from the composition stuff. So then color-wise, I think you've got good contrast between like Nat and the background. Like, I like how she is like the darkest object in the composition, like with the black and the purple. And then you're contrasting it with these very like bright greens and like grays and blues and stuff. I think that works really well. I'd recommend removing some of the gray in the background. I think you're trying to get that kind of like as the buildings go back, they get like more grayed out. I'd go the opposite way. So if you want to show the distance, there's have you ever heard of atmospheric perspective, where as things go back in the distance, they get lighter and more kind of blue and desaturated, just due to the way the atmosphere interacts with things in the distance. So instead of getting darker in the distance, I'd get lighter. Not heard of it, but I've seen it. Yeah, I'd recommend that for this in particular, because it is like a kind of like an open sky, like over a cityscape. You can use atmospheric perspective on the buildings to add some depth to it. And I think the gray that you're currently using on those buildings kind of like pulls attention away from Natsuki. Yeah, I think my only other like recommendation color-wise, I think the red needs to be brought in a little bit more, because like I like how you have the Japanese flag and then like the Team Japan is the red and white, but it's missing elsewhere in the composition. You could change it by bringing, like, I know Natsuki has like her color scheme is this very like purpley pink to it, but you could pull it more towards the red to make it mesh more. You could make the Japanese flag bigger. You could use red instead of green kind of highlights, like on this block or anything like that. I think there's ways you could pull the color scheme a bit closer to that. Because I think the red is really clashing with the purpley pink. Like they're very similar on the color wheel, this pink and the red. But the green that you've chosen works better with the purpley pink. Like they're very opposite. They're very contrasting, which works really well. And then this red that's just kind of like in the middle, which contrasts with green, but it's too much of like a more like reddish earthy red than the pink. It's conflicting. And we're not getting that juicy contrast that you have going on with the pink and the green. Well, sorry, Fantastic Studios. I don't know if we have very much information about building websites. If you are looking to make just like a quick website, like Tumblr would probably be a good one to use. They've got a lot of good templates. It's free. Yeah, Kuro, do you have any questions about this or anything I didn't cover? If you're looking to make a website to just host your comics, I'd recommend just hosting on like what would it be? Oh, what are they called? Webtoon or Tapas. Just a hosting site. It's got built-in community to it. And if you're looking to make like a portfolio site, I'd recommend using, again, Tumblr's a good one because you have it like just a timeline of all your work. Same with Instagram is fine for portfolio stuff. People don't mind seeing it if it's just dedicated to your artwork, or ArtStation. That's all helpful? Awesome. Anyways, yeah, but you can use social media for portfolio and for webcomics, which is a bit easier to use. And like I said, there's built-in audience, so that can be easier than building your own website, but it totally depends on what you need to build a website for. But yeah, it can be difficult to find a good service when you don't have a means of paying for premium features. So I'm sorry about that. Awesome. So who would like to go next? So we have Mouth, we have Kairos, Clad, and Alice. I'm not sure if you guys are here. You'll go? Oh wait, I'm assuming your Mouth. Okay, I thought so. Happy birthday again, by the way. Okay. Mouth, my friend. Alright. Alright, so design critiques. So you got a semi-murderous angel on probation from heaven. In order to get back in, he has to go undercover at a fast food restaurant to get rid of a demon. Oh, I love it. Togo is reluctantly helping him out, only because he's literally an angel. Togo has been working customer service recently. He hates it. Very tired fellow. I'm afraid he looks a little too much like an e-boy. Bless. Okay. So are you looking for just kind of like general critique stuff? Okay. So there's Foyev, who's the angel. and Togo. First impressions and general critique. Okay. So I'll start with Foy. Is it Foyer or Foyev? Foyer? Okay, so for Foyer, all right. So color-wise, they're very... Sorry, so color-wise for their angel form, it's very tight. I like how you have, it's all very close on this, like, warm color range where it goes from, like, red to gold. Oh, foyer? Okay. Sorry, my brain is French, so I say foyer. Okay, foyer. Yeah, so anyways, great color scheme on their angel form. I find in their, like, human-y form, the blue contrasts a lot. It's very eye-catching, the blue on the jeans. You're all good. The pronunciation is a little cooler. Foyer French confirmed? Oui, oui. I'm pretty sure Foyer is French. Hi, Glad. you're here. Glad, I'll do your submission at next aftermouth. Okay. Anyways, so yeah, the blue on the jeans stands out a lot in contrast because everything else is very warm colors with the gold and the red and stuff. So I think if you want to include this blue, it needs to be elsewhere in the design as well. So you could bring it in through... Where could you bring it in? I think it takes up such, like, a large amount of real estate on the design. If I were you, I might switch the blue to, like, one of these lighter colors so they could be, like, kind of khaki pants, if that makes sense. They're French now? Very good. Oui, oui. Anyways, yeah, so I'd recommend changing this to, like, a gold or a brown or something, just because it takes up so much space. The only other color that really takes that, like, amount of real estate is probably, like, the black of the shirt or maybe the red from the hat and the shoes. Like, they're all kind of competing, and I don't think the blue quite fits in. So if I were you, like, looking at this color scheme, it feels like the blue is a very small kind of, like, highlight color. I'd recommend using it that way, so finding, like, one or two spots to use it. So for example, like, maybe like a embroidered badge on the shoe or something, like a circle on the end of the sneaker, or like some lines on the hat, or like this little crown badge or something like that, like just like a small piece of it. But otherwise, yeah, it just feels like it's taking up too much visual space here. Cargos with a lot of pockets to hold knives or sauce packets. Exactly. It's for extra ketchups. But yeah, so that's the deal with the colors. That's how I'm feeling about it. But yeah, I like the transition from the angel form and then the more human form. Like, I like how you see the kind of remnants of, like, the blackened hands. I love the hair, the way it mimics, like, the shape of the wings and stuff. I'd almost, honestly, because I really love these, like, little curls to the wings, I might add them in more on the angel form. So, like, I like how you have all these, like, fluffy wing formations at the top, but here they're very, like, straight, pointy, which I guess matches the feet a little bit because the feet are pointy. But anyways, I'd love to see them kind of, like, curl out and show maybe more wing formations on it, if that makes sense, to match the hair. Yeah. honestly, you could also look into changing the feet, because they are, like, everything is very rounded, except for the little pointy feet. And don't get me wrong, we love some pointy feet. However, they are conflicting with other parts of the design. So that's just something to think about. Same with the sword, because if you did go the way of like removing the pointiness and went with something more rounded, like the rest of the design, you could do some like roundedness with the sword, where like, I don't know, you could have it curve in and then have this kind of like rounded shape at the end. You could round out the sides, anything like that. There's lots of designs you could do for a sword. Rounded feetsies will be considered. Alternatively, because like they are super murderous, right, and they're trying to like redeem themselves, you could go even more pointy in their angel form to show like the sharp murderiness, and then keep the sharpness that you have on the sword as like a remnant of like the murderousness, and then make their human design more rounded out to show like they're trying to change. That's another consideration. So whatever you think would work best for your story. But yeah, like I was saying, I really like the transition to the human form. It keeps a lot of the shapes. You see like little nods to the original like color scheme and design, and I think it's just really well done. It's really cute. I want that little sash with the eyes on it. Like it's like they took their halo and just like wore it as like a little belt. That's cute. Yeah, do you have any other questions about this design? That's not the one I want. There we go. So for Togo, first impressions, if you were seeing the character without context to the story. Yeah, so I definitely get the murderous vibes. Like they feel like a boss you'd fight in a video game, if that makes sense. Like like I feel like I'd walk into like a little room and then they'd attack. Doggo wants out. Bye Carl, thanks for coming. Yeah, but yeah, I feel like if you ordered food from them, they would just look at you with disdain, and then type in your order and not say a word, and you're like, okay. Yeah, that's the vibe I get. Very threatening. Threatening silent type. No problem. Ready for Togo? Okay, awesome. So for Togo, yeah, so I like this kind of like, he has like, it's, I want to say like a bell shape, like it's kind of a triangle, but it's also just like, I like the way his like shoulders sag. I like the kind of bend to his knees in his stance. Like it shows like the weight of the character, like this kind of like tiredness, which is really nice. I also like all the little details, like the scratches and the stains on the jeans, and on the hat and stuff. Like it just makes him feel very like worn out. I think it really works. I think there's a lot of characterization being shown just through like the outfit. Right, so color-wise, you've got the pink and the red and the blue. Right. Yeah, so the blue works a little bit better attached to the other characters, like with Foye. Seeing them with Togo, like they both feel very, like, more aligned color-wise. Whereas like Togo's kind of secondary color in that case, like the more kind of personal color would be the pink, and then Foye's is like the gold. I think he's a seasoned minimum wage worker. Oh, what a mood. Right, but I think the pink could be implemented more, like in the design, because I like the hair. Like the color meshes well with the red you've chosen, and contrasts well with the blue and stuff. I think it just needs to be like more places, because like Foye has like the gold with like the eyes, and the wings and stuff. And like I'd just like to see it kind of more throughout the Togo's character. Like, I don't know, it could be like a wristband or like highlights on the shoes, just like bringing it through a little bit more. Like it would be interesting to see with both of them if like they have, because they're wearing a uniform, right, for this fast food place that they work at. It would be interesting to see like underneath they have their own color. So for Foye it would be like the gold, and then underneath for Togo it would be the pink. So like anything that they wear that's like their own. So like, I don't know, the band-aids, or like, I don't know, socks or anything, like something you can, that's not mandated by the uniform, like that could be the pink that is Togo. And for Foye that could be the gold that is Foye. And then over top you have maybe these blue jeans, and then the red shirt and stuff. Yeah, I think that could help kind of show the character more, and then you still mix in the uniform on top, if that makes sense. I also think with the uniforms, I would like to see this crown icon being the red. I think, because I really like this jacket where it's got like the red pieces, and then the white crown contrasts nicely on the black. And you get this like through line with the black and the red. Oh, sorry. You get a through line with the black and red on Togo's shoes, on the hat, on the uniform jacket. But I find with their polo shirts, like it's missing that red touch that you get with the hat. So I'd be interested in honestly seeing like either adding maybe some like stripes on the shirt, making the crown red, something like that, just to bring in that brand, like the that brand color in a bit more. I think would strengthen the designs. But yeah, I really like the contrast between like their stances. I like the color choices you're making. Yeah, it's all coming out pretty strong, I think. Do you have any other questions on that? Don't think so? Awesome. So then for your last one, so you're playing around with new coloring and some like playing around with perspective stuff. Okay. So yeah, so I think you definitely get the sense that we're looking at this fella from above. Like I like how you have the indicators with like showing the top of the shirt seam, like at the top of the shoulder, overlapping the head with the shoulders. Same with like the stomach, like overlaps with like the legs and stuff. I think it could be pronounced more by like tucking the shins and the feet under the knees a little bit more, like moving them back so you'll see like a little bit less of them. Same with like the stomach. it feels like his chest is missing, if that makes sense. It's hard because like it's a very stylized character, like a very simplified down character, but it feels like the plane of the chest is missing because you can see it a little bit. You got like the little chest bit here, and then it goes out and becomes like the stomach, right? But it feels like it just needs a bit more overlap here, and I think you could honestly just show that with a bit of shading, like showing like just some of this kind of like orange underneath on the overalls, if that makes sense. And then same with like adding some shadow here, because you have some shadow from the purple shirt, but then it doesn't hit the overalls down here, if that makes sense. Like the shadow just disappears. So bringing that in could probably help with like making it feel like on perspective. And I think the only other place where I'm seeing possible perspective issues would be like the arms. Like they feel very flat, where there'd be a bit more overlap. Like you'd see the top of the arm would kind of overlap with the bottom of the arm more. Kind of like how here you have like with the gloves, you do see the forearm kind of like overlapping on top of it to show the perspective, but I think it just needs to be a bit more like they've been colored in a very like flat way instead of being treated like cylinders, if that makes sense. Like they feel like they've been flattened quite a bit. I love the expression, by the way. That's really fun. I would also say the tip of his nose would not be covered by that shadow, because his nose is protruding. If you did see it, you might see some shading like down on the sides, but the tip of the nose would not be. Oh, I think I'm reading it wrong, actually. I was seeing the point as like the end of his nose, but is it like the top of the bridge of the nose? In that case, I'd recommend putting like a little bit of shading under the nose or something, just to show like the structure of it a little bit more, if that makes sense. I'd also maybe remove one of these like white lines, because it's like too defined to be like the bridge of a nose, if that makes sense. Like it would mesh a little bit more into the face. I hope that makes sense. They are 2D. Anyways, but yeah, I love the expression. It's really fun. As for the coloring style, I like a lot of the kind of like gradienting you have here and there. Like I love it on the gloves. Like I love how you've got this like dark orange that gets like a little bit lighter in the middle, and then the shadow comes back at the top, and like same here, like and then on the fingers and stuff you've got some really nice gradienting going on. I'd like to see more of it throughout. Like I'd like to see I think it would help add depth to things as well if you have like a little bit more. I think you see a little bit of a gradient, but it's hard to tell because it's very light on the overalls. But it would be nice to see kind of some like soft shading for like the belly and like on the legs and stuff. And then same here on the purple of the shirt, like just adding more of that gradient. It adds a lot of like texture and depth, I think. So I'd love to see more of that. But yeah, but I like how kind of like shiny everything is. Like I especially like it on the hat, where like it makes the brim and this little like plate here, like it feels very like it makes the hat feel like it's metal almost. Like it's got like metallic bits on it. It's kind of cool. I would be careful though. So I think it works well on the overalls. Like they feel like those like rubber coveralls you'd wear like to go wading into water. I forget what those are called, but waders, is that it? But yeah, but it makes them feel very rubbery. Same with like the gloves and stuff. I might pull back a little bit on the shirt, because from the texture where you have these lines, like that feels like it's like a knit shirt kind of, and then it's got these like big shiny bits on it where it's like, is it made of rubber? Is it made of like vinyl? Like what is it? So I'd pull back on the shine a little bit, and if you want to have like highlight hitting the knit fabric, softening it up would probably help quite a bit, and adding like less vibrant shine, if that makes sense. So maybe only using this light purple kind of sparingly and not adding the white as well. And then I'd also like to see just like a little bit more kind of vibrance on the skin, because like you get a lot of vibrancy through your gradients here on the gloves, and like I just like to see like a bit more highlight like on his skin tone, because it feels very flat compared to like the gloves and like the rest of his outfit and stuff. Soft shading on soft textures, not necessarily. I think I might have misspoke there. I mean, kind of. Like, the thing is, like, if you have something like you're wearing like rubber gloves or something. I mean, it depends on the texture of them, right? Because like if they have like a very kind of like matte velvety texture, like you don't get that high glossy shine on it. It would be a lot more diffused and softer. But if you're wearing like just rubber gloves that are like very glossy and shiny, like you'd have that like high shine on them, like leather pants, for example. Like, you know, there's high glossy shine on them. Whereas like if you're wearing like a cotton t-shirt, like it doesn't have a lot of shine to it. It doesn't reflect a lot. So yeah, so you do get kind of like softer highlights and shadows on it, but you can still like show those by using hard shading. I think it's just you're using very glossy textures for highlights, where they wouldn't be as glossy, if that makes sense. Hopefully that clears it up. Because I don't think you have to do soft shading on soft textures. I think you can still use like hard cell shading. Yeah. And still imply that texture. Yeah. But yeah, this is very fun. This is a very fun illustration. Oh yeah, I also really like the use of the shadows. I should mention that. I really like the dark shadows like under the chin, under the belly, and the pocket, and the knees. Like those are really nice. I think it helps with like showing the perspective and like modeling the form and stuff. Yeah. Do you have any other questions? Anything I missed? Softer colors on softer textures? Yeah, kinda. Kinda. That's all? Awesome. Well, thanks, Mal. Thanks for submitting. Okay. Clad! Where are you? Clad! Hello! Okay. Okay, so you have a panel from your comic, Born of Hubris. Okay, I would like to know what the shot says about the environment the characters are in, and any other general critique. Okay. So, first off, I really like the design of the buildings and stuff. Really cool. Like, it all looks like it's built from the bodies of ships. Like, it's so cool. I get the vibe that it's like a coastal area, like it's right by like a sea line or something like that. Yeah, like I like how there's like masts with like crow's nests and stuff that are used. I like how this building, even though it's like more square and looks kind of more like your traditional building, like I like how you still have these like supports that feel like oars coming off a ship, and the netting for the windows and stuff. Like, it's very nautical. I like it. It's all very it's got good vibes. What am I thinking? It's got like consistent design, which is cool, and I really like it. It's good. I like it. That's my critique. But yeah, super cool design choices. I really like the use of scale and stuff. Like I like how you've got some like smaller buildings. I really like this kind of like ship front that's kind of like in the distance protruding up. It feels kind of like a bunch of ships like crash landed on like a shore and it just got turned into a city. Like it's really cool. And yeah, and I like the things disappearing into the mountains in the back. I wasn't sure if these were clouds or trees. I think they're clouds. It probably would help with like some shading and stuff. But yeah, super cool design choices. They're not clouds that will reveal. Oh, damn. Okay. Oh, snap. All right, cool. Cool. No spoilers. I don't want to know. I want to read it later. Okay. Perspective-wise, I think you've done a really cool job with, like, it's almost like a fisheye lens. Like, not quite, but it's close, and I like it a lot. Yeah, I like how you've used these really, like, thick lines for your foreground elements, and I like that you've used these, like, buildings in the foreground to really frame our characters out and kind of point to where we're supposed to be looking. Yeah, I think you get a very good sense of scale, just showing like the people on the ground, the way the perspective interacts with like the buildings here, where they feel very tall and skewed. Yeah, and I think perspective-wise, everything is looking nice, looking in line. Hum. I think if I had two nitpicks about some of the perspective. One is these characters here at the foreground that are like right by this building at the front. And same with these guys to a certain extent. I think because of the way the angle is, it feels like we're looking down at it a lot more than is being suggested by the people. So I think it works up here because they're farther from the camera. You see their front a little bit more instead of just like the top of them. But here, because these characters are closer to the camera, I feel like with the kind of angle of things, you'd see kind of more of the top of them, if that makes sense. So we might see like the top of their head here instead of like over here, if that makes sense. So kind of shifting the characters so we're looking down at them a little bit more. Yeah, honestly, I think it's fine for these people here, but just up here where it's like so close to the building, it feels like the perspective is off just a smidge. Oh, and the second point was these balconies here. So we get like a very clear shot of the tops of these like staircases, and we see like the platform here with this balcony, but I feel like we'd see like a little bit more of the floor here. I'm not sure if it just hasn't been like drawn in. But yeah, but it feels like there's just like a little bit of depth on these walkways missing. But those are my two nitpicks, and I think they would be pretty simple to fix. Yeah, super cool. Love the textures, love the perspective, love the scale of everything. It's so cool. Do you have any questions, Clad? Because I know you're looking for just general critique. The speech bubbles, I think they work really well. So they do help direct you towards the characters. I like the thickness on your bubbles. It really matches like the line thickness of some of these like foreground elements. So it really like, as your eye travels down here, it kind of brings you back to the dialogue, just following like the line thickness, if that makes sense. And then that works really well. I feel like they're a bit awkward when I look at them. I don't think so. You could, if you did want to try a new placement, you could put them here. So there's a lot of empty space kind of like in this section here. So you could move like one here and then two down here. But I feel like that might leave some empty space here. You might need to fill it with some like people meandering or some more like bushes or something, or carts. I'm not sure. Or rocks. But if you would like to try placing them elsewhere, like up here you do have quite a bit of negative space you could fill with them. And you could use some curved lines on the speech bubble tails to kind of match like the echoes of the curves from like the ship buildings, if that makes sense. That could be something to try. Yeah, because this speech bubble is a little bit close to this like edge of the building, so it might help to move it over a little bit. And just shift, like maybe this group goes like down here, and this group maybe goes like, I don't know, here or over here or something. Yeah, give that a try. Hopefully it looks good. I'm gonna quickly grab some water. Let me know if you have more questions, Cloud. Think you're good? Awesome. Well, thank you, Cloud, for submitting. Okay. All right. So we have Alice and Kairos. So, are either of you here to go over things? Yes, no, maybe? Okay, well, I'll start with Kairos and then go to Alice's, unless Alice is here and speaks up. Okay, so, Kairos, my friend. Yeah, so first off, I thought that the setting for this story is very, very cool. You mentioned in your little information packet that you were worried about some of these like information things being like too much or info dumpy. I don't think so. Okay, honestly, it depends on the pacing of your story. So like I think I'd need like a larger grasp of what the whole story looks like, because sometimes with a story you might have like all this information, this kind of like background information that would take like way too long to just sit and like, I don't know, get it out more organically through like dialogue or like scenes happening and stuff. Where sometimes it is helpful, especially in comics, where like it takes a lot of like page time to like go through some scenes like that. So I find having these like captions where it explains like you know, the earthen layer under the city and like the conservation day and stuff like that, like I think it's helpful just to put it in so that the audience knows about it, and then we can get into the meat of the story. And I think that's totally fine, especially in the context of a comic. You know, I think Bones has talked about this, where the advice for like show don't tell gets thrown out a lot. Like I think it was used to like overcorrect a lot of people doing too much exposition. But sometimes you just gotta exposit to just get the stuff out of the way so you can get to the meat of your story. Anyways, so yeah, so that was my opinion on that. I think it works well. And I think you have enough like little details with your characters. Like, I love the bit where he's like going home and he runs into the landlord and he's like, "Where's your rent?" Like, I think that's just such a nice little touch. And you've got lots of like nice little environmental pieces that really tell a lot about like the character and the story. So I think you're doing a good mix of like exposition and then showing and telling. I think you're doing a good job. Let me just see what the critique stuff was. All right, so layout. Okay, so layout wise, I think everything is pretty easy to understand. You said you were worried about things getting like too creative, I guess, like too out there and hard to follow, but I didn't find anything hard to follow. It was very clear. I think you do a really good mix of like pulled out shots and like close-ups. I find it very easy to follow like the action, like when he's like, there's an earlier bit where he's like reaching into like a little tunnel to grab like an object, and it's well paced and I can tell what's going on. I know you mentioned there were some places where you felt like you flipped the 180 rule, but I never found it like hard to follow, if that makes sense. Yeah, like I really like following him like crawling out the window and jumping down and then crossing this like little lane. Like, it's all very easy to follow and I think it's well paced. Yeah, and I think you've got a good mix of different panel layouts. Like, it's not repetitive too much. I think you show like the right amount of information on each page. So I think like go easy on yourself. I think you do a good job with your compositions, and your flow and showing information. And yeah, like I said, like really cool use of like your panel layouts. Like, you have a good mix of like pulled out and close up. So like I love the use of like this piece of architecture as like cutting through the other panels. Like, that's so nice. That's so cool. It really shows like how enormous this thing is, and like, yeah, it's just fun. I think you do a really good job with this stuff. Yeah, and I didn't find anything confusing. Like, you know, if you watch the rest of the stream, there are parts where I really nitpicked some people, but I can't really find anything that feels like too off to me here. Yeah. Yeah. Very good blocking and composition and stuff. Okay, right. So how is the coloring, you were asking? Right, so normally you do painterly stuff. You're not used to doing flat shading. Okay, right. So you're asking about the color scheme, so the difference between the foreground and the background. Okay, so I think there are some points where sorry, let me think this out. There's some pages here that are really well done, like contrast wise in your colors. So like I really like this one where you use the lighting from the lamps to really like highlight things. Like I love the texture on the background here to show like the darkness of the tunnels, and then we see like the highlight on the back of the character, and then here on like the top of him, and different characters are outlined, and you use like nice like silhouettes and shadows to really like show the different like the depth of the depth of field on your characters and objects and stuff. And I especially like this panel here where you're using the color pop on the main character to like make the other characters blend into the background. Like, that's really nice. But I think there are some places where like you need to make the contrast higher. So for example, like you have this nice opportunity where like he's reaching into a dark tunnel. The only light is this like button back here. So you could do something really fun where you show like the shadow on like the back of his hand, and like everything's really dark and just kind of rim lighted by this like light. But here it's just very neutral colored, you know? And like there's definitely points where like, for example, here his hair is kind of like blending in with the background. It's not too egregious because you do have these like nice highlights on him. But that's just something to keep in mind, to make sure you always have like high contrast between your different elements so that the character isn't like blending into this background here, for example. Yeah, and I love this page in particular where like I love how you're using the silhouettes against this like the neutral background to really just give a mood. And then same with here, like I love the coloring on the cityscape, where like it really just stands out against like the gray of it and black of everything else. It's so nice. Right, and you said in particular you had trouble with this like market scene because there's so many elements and it's hard to make it like condensed together and work. So that can be tricky. That's something I've definitely run into where like you want to show like a multitude of colors and it's very complicated. It happens a lot in like group scenes. Like I know in 9 Point, our one comic, there's like a market scene and there's like a city scene and stuff, and like there's lots of characters wearing different like clothes, and you want it to all look, you know, you don't want it to look like they're all wearing like a uniform or something, but you don't want the colors to be like vastly different. So something that can really help is pushing your colors toward like a tone, I guess. So for example, so I think you've done a good job. So here, like the tone of everything is very like earthy, orangey red. So, and then it's contrasted by this like cyan in the background. So like for these like background characters, they're all wearing kind of brown. You know, you have some green and blue and purple and stuff, but it's all being pushed towards like a more kind of earthy brown tone, if that makes sense. So they feel cohesive. I think, for example, this green on the pants feels a bit too blue. So you may want to push that more towards like an olivey green, if that makes sense. And another thing to watch out for is your contrast in this panel in particular. So this like shopkeeper over here is like the brightest object in this panel, with maybe the exception of like the highlight on this table here. So like your eye kind of goes to this person right here, where you'd probably want to make this the lightest. So you could do like, you could put like a lamp hanging under this so that like they're illuminated and everyone else is a bit more like in shadow or faded out. It feels counterintuitive because you're always told like, I mean, I literally just told you like make sure you have high contrast between like your characters in the background. But in this case, these characters in the background are part of the background. So you may want to go with more kind of like low contrast, maybe low saturation, make your characters in the foreground like that you want to give attention to, brighten that saturation, just anything to like bring your eye to where the important stuff is happening, and everything else is just set dressing. So hopefully that helps with your question. I don't know, I feel like I rambled there, but yeah, it helps to really align your colors. And it may feel repetitive, like you may feel like, oh my god, I'm just using like orange and brown for everything, but like it kind of needs to be that way sometimes to make things blend into the background. Yeah, and then your focus goes to the where you want it on the main characters or whatever element you want focused on. So yeah, I hope that helps. Yeah. All right. Right, I touched on the dialogue and the expository stuff. I think that's totally fine. Okay, so one thing I noticed, now I think it might become more clear once you do color for the prologue, because you mentioned that like some of these pages are not like completed before the critique. Totally fine. But I found after, because you sent in your comic pages and then you sent like an explanation kind of doc explaining like what happens in the prologue, and then through the rest of the story that you submitted so far. And I personally, I thought in the prologue that was our main character. I didn't realize it was someone else. So I assumed that like this had happened in his past and now he's in the city that they mentioned. I did not realize it was a different character, so I was like, oh, when are we gonna find out like how he got from there to here? But no, totally different character. So I think color might help, but I noticed their hair, for example, is very similar, and their facial shape. They both have this kind of like spiky, like pushed forward hair, so I just assumed it was like same character, but like time has passed, so now he looks different. So that's something to be aware of. Make sure that whether it's color or shape language, just keep it like, make sure people can tell the difference. Again, it could be totally clear with coloring, like maybe this character has like, I don't know, bright blue hair. And a totally different skin tone than our main character. But anyways. Yeah, but I really enjoyed the prologue. I think it's a nice, like, intriguing hook where you're like, whoa, what is all this stuff? Like, what does the light mean? Like, yeah, it was really cool. It felt very, a nice setup to, like, big cool things are coming, to this. And yeah, and I really liked the mix that you used for the, like, the memory of, like, Thomas, of him speaking, and, like, the visions of him. I thought that was, like, really cool paneling work and really, really interesting. I think it showed clearly that it's, like, this is a memory of this character speaking. But that was a really cool way to open. I love the way this, like, chapter ends with, like, the monster showing up. That's so cool. And yeah, and I think you have a good setup just from, like, the lore and stuff you talked about. I think this is a really intriguing setup. I think we've got a good grasp of, like, who our character is and, like, what his priorities are. I think there's a good explanation of the world. And yeah, and I'm curious about how it's gonna unfold. I think that's it. I think that's my critique on that. Please let me know if you have any questions on this. I'm happy to answer more, since you're not here to ask them right now. So yeah, just message me on Discord or drop it in the critique stream channel, and I'm happy to answer questions. Awesome. Well, next is Alice. Alice B. Okay. Okay, so the first... Oh, that's not the first. This is the first. Is a sketch I did of my character, Raphael. Ill-tempered elf necromancer. Aw, we love a necromancer. And an elf. Hello? Hello, have you met me? Okay. Oh, hello. Welcome. I seem to focus a lot on the face whenever I draw people and neglect the rest of their body. I also had trouble deciding on the color palette. So this mess happened. Oh, don't be so hard on yourself. Okay. So. Okay. So, yeah. So I think... So you're saying how when you're drawing portraits, you tend to focus on the face more than the body. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. When you're drawing portraits, for example... the focal point of the piece is generally the face. Obviously, it depends on what your intention is and stuff, but generally it is the face. So that's where you want, like, the most detail, the most kind of, like, life and zhuzh to go. And then the rest can kind of, like, become more messy. Not messy, but, like, less detailed, and kind of fade out a little bit. Just so that you're looking at the face, which is the main focus. So I don't think that's a bad thing. Obviously, you still want to give love to, like, the rest of the character or the background elements that you need. So that's always, so it's good that you know this and want to work on it. I'd say just keep working on it. But yeah, I really enjoy the colors for this. I like the range of colors you used. Like, I love the mix of, like, these, like, bright oranges showing through, and then this, like a really cool just, like, mix of, like, purples and blues and reds and greens. Like, I think because of the way you've used the value, so, like, for example, on the coat that the necromancer is wearing. Because like the value of like the blue and the purple and stuff is all. Oh, hi, Fiddle. It's my little boy. It's my little boy, Fiddle. Oh, hello. Oh, hello. Fiddle is here. The good boy. Yeah. So, what was I saying? Right. So because you have the values correct. Oh, bird yell. Because you have the values correct, you can use all the different colors and stuff, and they still work. And so that's really good. I think you've done a good job with your value work on the character, in the face, on the clothes. Hi, Fido. What are we doing? What are you doing? We getting comfy? Whoa, where are we going? Whoa. Whoa. Little boy. Okay, maybe he'll stay here, maybe he won't. I don't know. What'd you say, huh? Oh, he was sleeping. Sleepy boy. Do you want to go? Maybe. There you go, buddy. Little man. Okay. So yeah, values, good. Yes. So I love the variation in color while still keeping like the form and stuff. Anyways, yeah, so I love, like, for example, these like folds here are so nice, and I love how you've used the darker purples and blues to really highlight those. And I'd love to see more of that detail kind of show through. I find there's some points here that feel a little bit like they need a bit more work. Like, for example, here, this feels like it needs to be filled out, like their forearm. But yeah, but the idea is there, and it's really looking really nice. Love the like the rendering on the face, like the nice like little shadows under the nose and the lips, and like showing like the curve of the chin. Like, it's just so nice. Now, so I think, like I said, you did a really good job with like the values and stuff on the figure. I think with the background, you need to have a bit more contrast. So right now, like, the hair is really blending in with the background, which can work. So if you had, say, like a really dark shadow kind of like overcast and you wanted the character to really like blend in with it, that's something to do. But I think I would just be careful, making sure you have good contrast there so that the character isn't blending in with the background. Color-wise, I think it works really well. Like, you have the right color choices, but I think like your background maybe needs to be like a bit more desaturated or have like your shadows more defined. I hope that makes sense. Like, like you just don't want your main character to like blend into the background too much. Yeah, so because your character is like very vibrant and like really dark colors and shadows, I would recommend maybe lightening up the background, maybe desaturating it, or maybe adding that saturation in but keeping it kind of light. I think that would help a lot. Maybe defining some of the shapes in the background. It looks like they're in like a tavern or something, maybe showing some like stools or like benches or anything. But yeah, I don't think you should worry about the color palette. I think it's very strong. But yeah, there's a lot of like tight detail work on the face, and I think, yeah, I would like to see it kind of branch out more. But yeah, like I was saying, it seems like you're working on that as well. Yeah, I think there's some little anatomy things to watch out for. The hand feels a bit squished. I think there'd be the end of the hand would kind of end like here, and there'd be a bit more structure along the side, and then the wrist would be kind of more here, and the arm would be longer. So that's another thing. If you're ever having trouble with that, where like the head maybe, oh my god, I'm so sorry. The head is more like getting a lot of attention, and maybe like the rest of the body gets a bit like squished and skewed. Sometimes it helps to draw the body first and then the head, and that can kind of help with like proportioning. Maybe it can get you to do more detail work on the body. But yeah, but that's just something to look out for. I think some of his body is a little squished just because like the focus was on the face. So yeah, hopefully that all makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, so the next bit was some logo work, which is cool. So the next two are different versions of the same logo. The campaign takes place in a cursed forest. I was trying to get spooky vibes across. For the black and white version, do you think the branches look too busy against the rings of the tree stump? A general critique otherwise. Okay. So, right. So looking between the two logos. So I think the colored version, your contrast is doing a lot of good work, if that makes sense. So I really like this yellow outline for like the silhouette of the trees, and then it really mirrors this like yellow glow coming from the lantern. And your focus goes to that outline to get like the shape of your logo, and then you focus on the words and this like lantern. Whereas when you look at the black and white version, the roots are really competing for attention. The tree grooves and lines are really fighting for attention, and you really lose that title within these roots and stuff. So I do think they are distracting, like you mentioned you were worried about. It's hard because if you want it to be strictly black and white, you might really have to cut back on some of these details. You might also have to move things around. Like, it's hard because I really like this detail on tree stump. Like, that's so cool with like the cuts in it and the grooves of the tree rings. That's really cool, but it's taking attention away from your title here and your main object, which is this like lantern. You might have to do away with it. You might have to get rid of these grooves, or sorry, get rid of the tree ring, or make it just like an outline possibly, and then have these words be like white. So it would be white words on like a black background, if that makes sense. And maybe just like bring down the line thickness on these roots. Like maybe if you went very thin with them, they'd be less distracting and take less attention away from the title. You could also do that honestly with the tree rings as well, as like really slim it down, switch the contrast around so that it's white on black, for example. Another option is possibly to like make the tree ring like totally white, or like use like really thin dark lines through it, and then switch around the placement of this the title so that it is like black words on like a white background, if that makes sense. Like it might also just be the placement where maybe you need to shift some of your elements around, possibly. Yeah, it is difficult. It is difficult. I do really like in this black and white version where this like tree root melds, because I know in the colored version like you can see the tree root like reaching up, but I really like how in the black and white version it looks like tentacles like rising out of the forest. That's so cool. That's a really nice touch. Okay, so as for this version, one thing I'd recommend is, so you have this like glow effect from the lantern onto the words, but I think it's pulling the title into the background. Because it is layering, because it looks like you have the lantern in front and then the light is casting back onto the words. It's also like not, the light isn't behaving the way I'd expect. I'd expect it to like make the black sections of the lettering lighter, like it would illuminate them and make them like brighter and lighter. And the white here probably would not be affected. Like the white outline on this, like it wouldn't have, like it would maybe be cast a bit more yellow, but it would have more of like a glow. Adding the yellow is darkening it because the yellow is a darker value than the white. So it's making it darker, it's pulling it back instead of illuminating it. So you may just want to add like a light gradient to the black lettering, and then maybe add like a surface glow to the white. Changing up the colors might help as well. But that's just something to watch out for. So you could alternatively move the lettering like to the foreground, if that makes sense, and have it like spotlighted from the back. So you might see a bit like a halo kind of glow on the letters, something like that. Yeah. Oh, Kairos, I just finished yours. That's okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, if I'd waited for you to go last, I could have done it now. But no, so I just did yours. So if you rewind a little bit, you can watch yours. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Right. The other thing with this logo, so this chain on the lantern, I find it very distracting that it goes past the tree ring and then just stops. It like disappears. It's got this very like white outline on both of them, which draws like a lot of attention to it, and then it just ends. And it feels very, like the overlap is just like, it's feeling weird. So I'm not sure if you'd want it to... You could do something like have it loop around behind the words, or like I'd even have it end like before the tree ring, if that makes sense. Like just make it look like it's been cut off or something. Just because it creates such just like a visual tangent here. Where it's being cut off by something in the background. It feels weird, like overlap wise. Yeah, I also wonder if you could bring the green in a little bit more on the colors. So like the yellow and the green, like they work very well together because they are close on the color wheel. And the yellow that you're using is a more, like it's a more green yellow than a red yellow, if that makes sense. So they harmonize well. I would be interested though in seeing, like adding maybe like a bit of a gradient on some of the yellow to make it more like lime green, kinda like the green of the trees is like infecting the light a little bit, or vice versa. Have some of the light like bringing some more kind of like yellow limey green into the roots and the trees and stuff. I think that would be very cool and kind of help meld the colors together a little bit. Another option to really bring your wording forward, the tavern forward, is to use a yellow outline instead of a white. Because right now the yellow of the trees, that outline really stands out because it's the bright yellow on the black. And because the yellow is so vibrant, it kind of like brings it forward more than the white, which is very white. You know, white is completely desaturated, so it blends into the background, where vibrancy like brings things forward. So possibly changing it to a yellow outline might help bring it forward more. It's another thing to consider. But yeah, for the black and white, I think you really need to simplify and kind of cut away things you don't need, possibly change around some of the contrast stuff. You can use thinner lines, like I said. Yeah, I think it'll really take some messing around with it to get it to where you want it to be. Yeah. I think that's all I have for that. Alice, so yeah, you said you mentioned you would not be at the stream, but if you watch this back later and you have any questions, please let me know. Oh, sorry, Fitz. That's okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Fitz. No, I don't think I'd have time to like look it over and give you proper feedback. So I think you'll have to wait till next month. Oh, you got your booster shot and you weren't feeling well. Oh, I hope you feel better. That's okay. You weren't feeling good. I'm so sorry, Fitz. I'm glad you got your booster, though. That's awesome. So I think I'm just waiting for Kairos if they have any questions. Otherwise, I think everyone is covered who submitted. Actually, I'm not sure how long it'll take Kairos to get back to where we currently are. Okay, so I think I will leave this here. So, man, oh man. Okay, well, that is everything, I think. So Kairos, oh wait, I should probably type in the chat to them. Sorry, so yeah. Okay. So yeah, so Kairos, if you hear this, let me know if you have any questions about the feedback I gave. Thank you so much to everyone who submitted. If you would like to submit for next month, there is a link to our Patreon in the comments. You can sign up for the $8 tier. Is that it? 7, 8? I don't remember now. Anyways, there's a tier to get your stuff critiqued, and you can submit for next month, and we'll look over comic pages, prose, character designs, setting designs, so much stuff. It's all the rules should be listed in the Discord once you have access to that stuff. So thank you all so much for joining us. We love you all. Please take care. And we'll see you next time.